What are some unwritten rules for men? Story 1. If you ask your friend for help with anything that involves manual labor on their part, you feed them. Doesn't matter if it's burgers, beer, and pizza, or something you cook. Whether it's helping to put up a garage door, moving, or a damn barn raising. Feed them. Story 2. The male head nod is its own unwritten language. Nod up, greeting for acquaintances and friends. Nod down, greeting for strangers. Head nod up to behind, follow or go that way. Head nod towards object person, look that way. Seriously pay attention to random men if you make eye contact with them. #2 is so noticeable once you recognize it. Story 3. If your bro is crying on the phone, you immediately move to a private area and discuss what is going on. If he needs a shoulder, you go immediately. You never use it against him. Also, all rules about trash talking are suspended if your bro just suffered the loss of a loved one. If his mother or sister, she is permanently off limits as an insult. A woman can be an honorary bro. She should be treated with respect. Story 4. Ask, so how are you doing? Especially to younger men. I'm an older man, and what I like to imagine is a position of respect and authority. I wish men like me had asked that of younger men like me. We're so afraid of telegraphing perceived weakness, especially to our fathers, bosses, etc. Just ask, how are you doing? Not how's the job, family, etc. You'll be surprised at what you hear. Story 5. Being a man is so isolating. I'm not even one, but I've seen it. Growing up, my brother was told to man up if he cried. I remember he was real little and was crying because our sister had eaten all of his favorite cereal. He had really been looking forward to it, and he was disappointed. My dad told him to man up often when my brother would whine or cry. He ended up blocking a lot of emotions out because of it, thinking he needed to be emotionless to be a real man. He learned better, though, and met a good girl. They got married, and during his wedding, I saw him shed a few tears. When I met my husband, he was the same way. He thought that he needed to keep his emotions a secret, that he couldn't look weak. He works in security and needs to be tough, so it just reinforced that. He's been stabbed and punched and kicked and all kinds of things by the people he deals with, and his response has always been, I'm fine. He's slowly been opening up to the idea of talking about his issues and allowing himself to be sad. Story 6. If a homie expresses to you that they're crushing on someone, that means they want you to be their wingman or they wouldn't have said anything. You are honor-bound to defend your new title as if you're trying to pass the bar exam. Story 7. If we're driving together on a road trip and stop to gas up, and I start pumping the gas, you get out of the car and clean the windshield. You don't sit on your ass in the car like you're a king, and I'm one of the help. I'm talking to you, John K. If I loan you a tool, you use it, and then bring it back to me reasonably soonish, clean and not broken. I loaned a lawnmower to a friend once. Time went by. I finally needed to mow my scruffy lawn. Asked him about my mower. Oh, that? I thought you gave it to me. It broke. I sold it. Never make a lewd comment about your buddy's wife or girlfriend. Ever. Story 8. Family. = dog, cat. Best friend. Bros. Girls can be honorary bros. Hoes. It doesn't matter if you're the manliest man who uses a blowtorch as a shaving razor. If your daughter wants to play princess, you wear that tiara. Put on that nail polish and sip tea with her. Ripping on each other in good faith = great friends. Ripping on each other in bad faith = end of friendship. Nutshots are hilarious, always. When doing something with friends, the goal is not to win. Winning is rude. When playing against strangers, show no mercy. What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women. There will always be one guy who wants to play as a girl. You let him and you support him. And you make sure to know he's the best damn girl around because he's your bro. The game night with the bros is sacred, be it football, a board game, watching a movie, or whatever. You always show up or explain why you couldn't. Remove all distractions and enjoy time with your bros. Story 9. My unwritten rules. Never make any woman feel unsafe. If a friend, family member, stranger either is currently or recounts being abusive to women, they are now my enemy and should be to all men. If a man speaks of women as objects he uses, he is a coward lacking honor and an enemy to all men. Men who stare at women until they make them uncomfortable will be stared at by honorable men until they, too, are made uncomfortable. A man is only proved dominant by his capacity to be both peaceful and of service to his family and community. A man without any sense of service to others is either a boy or worse, a coward. Strength, status, violence, experience do not indicate dominance to me, only that man's capacity to love others. This is the quality of great kings, love for many while in service to them. If a man picks on, intimidates, or humiliates someone smaller or weaker than them, they are a coward and should be an enemy to all men. We are made weaker as a whole by their presence, and you should be motivated to reprimand them. Story 10. At night or in sketchy areas, And if there's not many folks around, don't walk directly behind a woman, even at a distance. Instead, cross the road and speed up so she can see you. Don't keep walking behind her, as it can cause her to fear for her safety. Story 11. Please know how to change a flat tire and check your oil. Please know how to change air filters and the basics of flathead and Phillips head screwdrivers, and how to hang something on the wall by finding the supporting beam. My dad didn't show us those things as girls, but my grandfather did. Surprising how many younger guys aren't taught this anymore. Story 12. Keep the unwritten rules unwritten. This is common in sport, social circles, and more. It doesn't apply to everything, but there's certainly boundaries everywhere. Keep an eye on precedents and self-awareness to establish some sort of understanding with the other party and hold your word. Story 13. Not a man but the urinal theory. One chooses the lowest number unoccupied urinal that provides privacy, sourced from Google LOL. Although according to my boyfriend, there are some circumstances that makes the theory null and void. For example, no other option or someone doesn't understand boundaries. Story 14. Don't wear your emotions on your sleeve. Think before you act. Be friendly but not suffocating. Be good to your friends, but don't try to be everyone's friend. Don't get into fights, but if you have to, make sure you're respected afterwards. Listen and don't talk unless it improves upon the silence. It's better to buy a good pair of boots that will last than a cheap pair that looks cheap and falls apart when you most need them. Money can let you do things that you want, but more importantly, let you not have to do the things you don't want to. Story 15. The key to a good handshake is actually in the wrist. It doesn't have to be straight, but it should be stiff. Move the lower arm with it, but not like you're inflating a tire. Unless you're tight on space, do not have your knees touching. It is a sign of weakness and says I cannot defend myself and mine. Yes, ladies, there is a reason why men spread out when sitting. Just as there is a reason why ladies keep their knees together, it is seen as a dominance thing. Story 16. Always have a knife head nods have different meanings. Firm handshake, but when tested, push yourself. If the homie needs you, go right. Then, if your homie is in a fight and someone tries to jump in sweet chin music, if the homie has an impeccable wife, slap him for looking at another person. Sometimes garage beers and grilled burgers is a must-have. Story 17. You can and should be a little bit of an asshole to your closest friends. If they've never fucked with you a bit, you're not really brodra babe. Similarly, you only make fun of your bros for stuff that either isn't true or isn't a big deal. For example, you can say your Welsh friend fucks sheep, but only if he doesn't actually fuck sheep. Or you can make fun of him for sucking at FIFA because it's not a big deal. Oddly, the exception to this rule is that you can make fun of a bro for something that is true and a big deal to show him you love him. For example, my friend's mom is dying of cancer. I've spent so many hours sitting with him and talking deeply about it. But the other day I made a your mom joke when we were drinking, and it was a bit of a beautiful moment. Story 18. Oh, here's an easy one. If there are 5 urinals on the wall, there are 3 urinals. If there are 4 urinals on the wall, then there are 2 urinals. The only exception to this rule is when urinals are widely spaced, with some kind of visual divider. In an emergency, the following protocol applies. Is there a free stall? If yes, use that. Is someone finishing up? Get in on the usable urinals ASAP. Are you literally about to piss yourself? Waive all procedures and look extraordinarily relieved as you relieve yourself. Your sweaty skin, pale complexion, and heavy, voluminous flow will let other gentlemen present that you were imminently going to burst a vessel. They might not approve, but they will understand. Story 19. If you're walking in an area without a lot of people around and there happens to be a woman/women walking in front of you, stop for 30-ish seconds to let them get further ahead. They don't know you and are naturally afraid of random dudes who are behind them. Story 20. When another man walks in the room, joins your table, etc., and you're at a gathering or are close to the host of the gathering, be prepared to be a respectful fellow man and stand up, acknowledge him, present yourself, and firmly shake his hand. You're not there to challenge someone. You're not there to compete. You're not there to show the world who's boss. You're there to enjoy some good, strong family bonding. This is an unwritten rule in my culture, Mexican. Not sure if it's a worldwide thing. If you don't acknowledge other males in the room, you're going to be perceived as arrogant. Fortunately, most men follow this unwritten rule back at home. Story 21. Apparently, spending as much money on your partner as possible. I've noticed this with my partner and my friends' partners, where the boys don't have enough time for us or are busy gaming and buy gifts to make up for it. I find it rather odd. Story 22. If you are going to a house party or barbecue or some other event like that, at least bring something for people to share. It doesn't have to be nice or expensive, but at least contribute something like a 6-pack of beer or a fruit tray or a bag of chips and dip. Story 23. Don't talk for the sake of hearing your own voice. There's nothing wrong with quiet companionship. It's fine to ask how people are doing if you actually care, but if they say they're fine, don't pressure them. They'll speak when they're ready, and trying to force them to open up will cause them to distrust you. Just reassure that you are there if they need you. Story 24. Anything said between mates is kept between mates, and you don't use it as a tool to manipulate or twist anything or gain the upper hand in a situation. I.e., your mate tells you, I am struggling with my new girlfriend, mate. I don't think a relationship is going to last and it's got me down. You don't use that to get in with the girlfriend. You don't use it to talk behind your mate's back. You just leave it alone and make sure your mate is doing okay. Take him out for a drink, maybe a meal, and just be a good friend. Only bitchy, two-faced assholes would use that information to get an advantage with the soon-to-be EX, and it's considered the highest order of dick move, bro. Story 25. I remember years ago informing my ex's brother that you always speak to and treat other men with the respect, awareness that if you speak them a bit too rude, you will get hit, regardless of the other man's age. He was finishing high school, about to go to college. He did not heed my advice. We get the call he'd been tossed through a window at a pool hall. After finding out he was indeed okay, first response was, I just had this talk with him. Story 26. No one offers me help. LOL was just wishing and hoping. Some stuff at my job, super heavy, and even though I'd likely refuse, being proud and stupid, LOL just be nice if a guy asked, you sure you got that? I get it. No offense intended. I should have specified that my comment was relating to my specific workplace and not just random strange women, because that'd be crazy and unnecessary. FOMOW. My bad. Story 27. Seeing all the comments in here about being there for another man who is your friend just pulls at my heartstrings. All my life, I've never had a friend that I could go to in my darkest hours, except for my brother, and I hate to always put the burden of my troubles on him. I hope one day I can find my tribe, and judging from all the wholesome responses in here, it seems there is hope for me yet. Story 28. None of these are real and are completely socially constructed. Lord, are we ever going to break these gender norms? Men suffer the most from toxic masculinity, and they don't even realize it half the time. Story 29. 2 shakes or it's playing with yourself. Never use the urinal next to someone else if there is an open one that isn't next to anyone available. The only emotions you're allowed to show are happiness and anger. If you cry or show sadness, it's a form of weakness. Your worthiness as a man is directly proportional to the number of women you sleep with if you're single, or the amount of sex you have with your wife if married. Basically, rule #4 again, except replace women and sex with money. Sometimes I hate being a man. Story 30. When your wife is trying to set your male friend up on a blind date with her ugly friend, it is required to do a very tiny, quick head shake when the wife is not looking, all the while verbally saying how wonderful her friend is, followed by another quick, tiny shake. This video perfectly demonstrates the required behavior. Story 31. When you are asked, how are you / how have you been, etc., only one-word replies are acceptable. Great, fine / good, shit, etc. Only acceptable use of more than one word to a 3 maximum is if repeating same word, for example. Fine, fine. Good, good, good. Story 32. Things said between men are taken to the grave. If you violate that, we will no longer hang out. If I am 5 shots drunk, don't put me on your TikTok feed. If you do that, that is our last ever hangout. If I bitch about my kids or wife to you, I am blowing off steam. If you ever use that against me, we are done. If I offer you a handshake, then you squeeze my fingers instead of my hand to be a dick. Prepare yourself. A year later, we will beat your ass for that. This is #1 sin. Story 33. Please be more direct and more honest. We can't be bothered to jump through hoops to figure out your cryptic hints and signals, if you want something from us, just fucking say it. Please, we are trying to relax, not constantly attempting to decipher what your words really mean. It's not worth the trouble. Story 34. Nice guys do finish last. Aim to be kind, not nice. Don't be too vulnerable with any woman, other than your mother. Be vulnerable about small things, not the big problems in your life. You can be vulnerable with your close mates. Just don't be a victim.